point in time, I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the South Range Local Board of Education for June 19th, 2017.
John Coons.
Here.
John Coons.
Here.
Dale Murray. Here. Amy White.
Here.
Ralph Wentz.
Here.
Corey Ogle.
Here. Okay, the first item on the agenda is approval of minutes. We have two. We have from the regular meeting held on May 15th, 2017, and the special board meeting on May 23rd, 2017. May I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Amy moves. May I have a second?
A second.
Corey seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next, may we have the financial reports, Mr. Phillips?
Okay, in our regular general fund, the current fund balance at the end of May was $2,462,615.23. Encumbered against that, $357,052.50, leaving an unencumbered balance of $2,105,562.73. Down to the bond retirement fund. You can see the encumbrance column. We did pay the June payment, and we have $976,076.21 in that account still. The lunchroom fund, I'm going to not tell you to talk about what's here because it shows a negative $59,000, but we're down to now where they have positive of, I think it's about $11,000. So we were waiting for the initial deposit that we have to pay at the beginning of the year to come back. That was $32,000. We were still waiting on June's federal payment, and then she had some special stuff come in too, special services stuff. So the cafeteria did do very well this year relative to how it used to be. Going back to the 500s at the end of the report, you see a negative 13,757, a negative 33,521. Those two federal grants, there is a project cash request out this time of year. That's why I keep money in the contingency fund. It may show up here in June yet. By the time we have our special meeting on June 30th, it may not. So no matter what, I'll be asking you on June 30th to allow me to advance money to those two federal grants. Even if the money comes in, we'll have spent some since I did those PCRs because they're salaries. And so I'm just hoping not to have to advance as much as it's showing right now. So our all funds, current fund balance, $3,766,471.78. Total encumbrances, $561,907.07, leaving an unencumbered balance of $3,204,564.71. At the bottom of your page, your computer form, our current fund balance of $3,766,471.78. Star Ohio, we have $228,284.64. Farmer Sweep, $2,705,003.48. Our $680 of petty cash as usual, and that proves out as follows. Our regular general farmer's account, $850,000. Outstanding checks, $17,496.34. And when you do that subtraction, that math comes out to $832,503.66, which does prove out. And if there are any questions on the check pay, appropriations, or revenue report, I can answer those or try to answer those now along with the document I just covered.
Any questions? May I have a motion to accept the financial report?
So moved.
Dale moves. May I have a second?
Second.
Ralph seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right, and next up on to new business, district reports and good news.
Good evening, everyone. We have a pretty light agenda and pretty light group that was reporting tonight for the month of June. Mr. Matus and Mr. Zolik are not here. Mr. Rowan was able to to be with us tonight. Not sure if he has anything to add other than from really all three buildings. Many thanks to the board, our community, our students, and the staff for a really good 16-17 school year. Mrs. Pierce is here tonight, and she is going to share with you some cafeteria news for the 17-18 school year.
So the school year ended well. Already moving on to the next school year for this fall. A nutrition group recently took on a new program for our breakfast and lunch menus. So starting this fall, Mr. Dunham is going to pass around, there's 3 pages right there. So there will be a new breakfast and lunch menu on South Range's website, and it will be different from the old one because this one you'll actually be able to pull up the nutrition information on all of our items. So the calories, the sodium, every nutritional information on each item, as well as I know there's a lot of allergies. On the side of the calendar, you could actually click if you were to have a milk or a soy or peanut allergy, and it will actually cross out or delete all of the items on that menu that have that certain component in it. So I'm just passing around an example of what a regular menu would look like. The second page is actually carb counts for either people just curious or any diabetic students having to count carbs. It shows the amount of carbs in each food item. And then the third page, I have what a menu would look like if a student had a milk allergy. So it deletes all of the items with any milk component in it. So I think this is a very progressive thing that Nutrition Group has took on. I believe all the Nutrition Group accounts are actually doing this at the school. So that will be for this August. We'll start.
Nice feature.
Mm-hmm.
Really
Very.
nice. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Move on down. Anything, Mrs. Lewis? Takes us to Mr. Jones.
Well, the only report I have is House Bill 49 is still in deliberation. There was a reduction or an increase in the amount of funding we'll be getting. So I think it's down to 174,000 roughly. So
We, instead of having in fiscal year 19, changing nothing else on the 5-year forecast, I plugged the amended House Bill 49, substitute House Bill 49 amount in, and it shows about 229,000 as a balance in 19 instead of only 119. Still pretty small fraction of our total budget, so better than a stick in the eye.
right, and the only other thing is there's a tax holiday for school purchases for coats, boots, etc. It's August 4th, 5th, and 6th. There are some restrictions. The cost of clothing goods would have to be $75 or less. The cost of materials for school would have to be $20 or less, but those would be tax-free August 4th, 5th, and 6th in the state of Ohio. Otherwise, that's all.
Brings me strategic plan update. If I could, I'm just going to share with you the update with that during my reports segment later in the agenda.
All right, thank you very much. Next up on the agenda is OHSAA membership for 2017-2018.
This time of the year, or even in July, I asked the board to consider renewing membership into the Ohio High School Athletic Association for interscholastic sports at the middle school and high school level. Once again, I'll be asking the board for your consideration. Not sure what we would do if we didn't belong to it, as 99.9% of the districts do. So again, membership for 17-18 into the OHSAA.
Okay. Next up is transfer of funds from the class of 2017 to the class of 2018.
Very customary, the graduating class, which was, of course, in 2017, will be, I'm not sure how much is left in their account. Mr. Phillips may know, or will soon get that report from the senior class. But as customary, we take the money from 2017 or previous class and give it to our latest senior class moving on. I don't know if you have a number or not.
Well, as of the end of May, it was 12,817.36, but it's going to
That's
go down from
change significantly.
Yep.
Okay, so next up is the elementary school student handbook adoption for the 2017-2018 school year.
See a series of handbook adoptions so that our building principals, as they prepare to move forward to take this to print, you've had last year's handbook in your possession and then the highlighted changes or a page of changes. All three buildings, save for elementary, middle, and high, potentially to save some time, have very few changes in the handbook. A few things in terms of conduct code, attendance, a fee here or there, but nothing major that, other than the highlighted pages that you've had to observe.
Quick question on that, if you don't mind. For the elementary ones in particular, it says fees for items for students in grades K-4 are $20. Kindergarten students have an additional $35 snack fee that covers the entire school year. Does that mean the kindergarten students are required to pay $55 then?
They have $35 for their snacks, which is consumable because they, I don't know, 1 o'clock, 12:30, Mr. Matus isn't here, but maybe Mrs. Maynard, am I right about that?
In the afternoon.
Okay,
Every
I just
day.
wanted to make sure it wasn't 55. Just how it's worded, okay.
Their consumable fee is $20, like everyone else's, and then their snack fee is $35, which 176 days of milk and whatever it might be.
Whatever it is,
Yeah.
And what about the high school too? I know there was, I think, 25 classes listed for class fees also.
They've just been itemized. They weren't always in the handbook, but they are now. I don't think there's any changes in the fee structure.
Most of the
Just
classes are
again-
consumables, whatever the fee is.
There used to be a separate fee sheet, and I asked Mr. Rowan just to put it in the handbook so that everyone has access to it at all times.
Okay, so any other questions on the student handbooks? All right, next on the agenda is South Range classified employees negotiated agreement consideration.
I'll defer to Mr. Schultz to discuss that.
When we negotiated in the summer of 15 for the 3-year contract, 15-16, 16-17, and 17-18, it was negotiated that should we have a balance at the end of 16-17, which obviously we're at now, we would add a 7th step to the classified. They currently have 6 steps, and obviously we're going to have in the vicinity of $2 million. And so I just wanted to memorialize what we agreed to already a few years ago, so that I would have for audit, or proof to the auditors, I reminded the board what we agreed to. And I think, I believe I sent you a caption out of the contract. If not, I can electronically send that to you. It should be with the stuff I sent you.
Article 15.6.1.
Yeah. Is it in? At any rate, it is in the contract, Article 15
Okay.
section.
All right. Does anybody have any questions regarding the Step 7 edition? Okay. Next up is declaration of impracticality to transport and approval of payment in lieu of transportation.
Something this board is pretty familiar with, and that's the in lieu of transportation. We had a late request for 16-17 this last year. It did happen. Emily and Alexander Best were transported a private vehicle to Holy Family, and due to impracticality, I would recommend payment in lieu of transportation. Of course, verify that they did indeed attend Holy Family for the entire year. Once we have that clarification and confirmation, then we would make that payment to the Best family. It's broken out from the others because we didn't have this previously.
Okay. Anybody have any questions on that? Okay, the next up is a special board meeting. I don't know which one of you wants to.
Jim?
Every year, on the last day, if it's a business day of the fiscal year, which is June 30th, I ask you to come in at 7 in the morning and approve appropriations for the year. And of course, I'm busy that week making all the adjustments necessary. And we're going to do that again this year. And as I understand from Mr. Dunham, he also wants me, when I advertise that, to put in personnel because we may have
I may have one or two aides that could potentially have a long-term math, 7th grade math candidate, so we can leave that open for personnel as well.
If we do it at 7 o'clock, I expect you to be out by 7:05 if you have to get to work.
Okay. Next up on the agenda is public participation on the June agenda items. Does anybody have anything they'd like to talk about or ask a question about June agenda items?
I know Sherry didn't bring it up, but I mean, when I got report cards home today, it looks like they're changing up the math. I don't know if you wanted to expound on that or not. I mean, it's, what was sent home, I mean, I know I criticize you guys a lot, but this is very, very positive, what they're doing with Kent State as far as the math is concerned. I know I talked to Steve about it on the phone. And it looks like now, for kids that are in like the advanced track math, they're gonna graduate from South Range with, what, 369? It looks like probably about 14 KSU math credits. So you're gonna graduate from high school with already 14 math credits knocked out. So any kid that's not going into a STEM field, where you usually just have to have like, 4 credit hours of math or 8 credit hours of math, they're basically gonna be done with college math. And the kids going in STEM are gonna be very, very well prepared because they're gonna get through calculus and potentially with Calc 2. So I think it's a very beneficial development in our curriculum. I'd like to thank you and Steve for doing that.
Thanks, Rich.
Thank you, Mr. Frenchek. Does anybody else have any questions or comments? Jim? Okay. Do I need to go back and take votes now, or do we do?
What was the, or the what?
Shall we go on to the May, June, July district update?
We've generally just gone back through the resolutions and voted on this, and I can report after that.
Okay. For the OHSAA membership for 2017-2018, do I have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Corey moves, do I have a second?
A second.
Amy seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Transfer of funds from the class of 2017 to the class of 2018. Do I have a motion for that? Dale moves, do I have a second?
Second.
Ralph seconds, and all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the elementary school student handbook adoption for the 2017-2018 school year. Can I have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Amy moves, may I have a second?
A second.
Corey seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, middle school student handbook adoption. May I have a motion to approve? So moved. Dale moves, may I have a second?
Second.
Ralph seconds, and all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? High school student handbook adoption. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Ralph moves, may I have a second?
A second.
Amy seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. South Range classified employees negotiated agreement consideration. May I have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Corey moves, may I have a second? Second. Dale seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the declaration about impracticality to transport and approval of payment in lieu of transportation. May I have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Amy moves, may I have a second? Second. Dale seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Special board meeting on June 30th at 7 a.m.
So moved.
Ralph moves, may I have a second?
Second.
Corey seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next up, Mr. Dunham.
Can I interject real quick? Mrs. White will not be able to be there on the 30th. Will at least 3 of you be able to make it? Thank you.
Okay, again, congratulations to the class of 2017, as they were awarded their diplomas on May 27th. Certainly one of the nicer ceremonies in the number of years that I've been here. I thought it was well done. Thanks to Mr. Rowan, to Mrs. Berkey, to staff, our entire community. A lot to be proud of. Really, really nice. Very, very tasteful. This last week and really last couple of weeks and starting tomorrow, our departments have been preparing for a 17-18 school year. Maintenance, transportation, food service, technology, our building offices, building administrators, really preparing in terms of academics and much of the logistics that revolve around before school starting, opening day, and throughout the 9 months that we have school in session. Over the next several weeks, we'll be announcing our orientations, our open house, and other events for our students and for our parents and community. So really, at the end of June, the first few weeks in July, that information will be out in a timely manner so that people can to attend the events accordingly. So I mentioned the strategic plan under the good news reports at the beginning of the board meeting. Last week, our staff coordinated with the Ohio school boards once again to present our committee goals, and we shared with with OSBA some of our strategic plan thoughts, and we're really working towards that one document for this fall. In fact, tomorrow and Wednesday, we have the administrative conference and departmental conferences really held from 8 to 4, Tuesday and Wednesday, working with all of our departments, trying to solidify. And one of the topics of conversation again is, and always is, academics, finance, district culture, and communications. And that really is interwoven with all of our departments, and everything we do is really the guiding principles, those core goals, into creating this working document, and really helps guide us throughout the course of the 17-18 school year and beyond. Another topic is our stadium project. We have a lot of volunteers on committees that are working hard to make the August 26th deadline. You may be asking, what's the August 26th deadline? That's kind of a self-inflicted deadline. That's the first home football game on a Saturday evening in Springfield, hoping to have things in place that we can host that game. Of course, the fallback or alternative plan is to go back to Memorial Field in North Lima, but every day things we're checking the box, more things are happening, and really in the next few weeks you'll see things starting to rise out of the ground in terms of bleachers and school boards and things of that nature. Specifically, next week our delivery for visitor side bleachers is supposed to happen. The visitor side bleacher pad will be poured this Wednesday. July 10th, bleachers arrive for the home side as far as the piers. Light poles about that same time, light poles and LED lighting, middle of July. The actual scoreboard and the steel that supports the board should go up at the end of this week, Thursday or Friday. Electrical work has begun. It's been happening over the last couple of weeks. You've noticed some trenches and dirt piled up, but it's all underground. And in fact, before long, you'll notice there will be nothing that you can see out there that was performed below ground, because it will be done. That's the good news there. The band shell. Last month we accepted naming rights and athletic boosters donation from the Mark and Linda Whitmer family. Since that's happened, conceptual drawings and the general contractor has been working to get the schedule going, and I think we'll see the same thing happening with that band shell in the next few weeks as we've seen with some of the other things that are happening on the east, north, and east and west side of the stadium. So really thrilled about that, and the donations to the music boosters from the Whitmer family will definitely make. We're hoping this will make it a reality. Last month, you may recall, Mr. Yoakum, he had brought up the OHSAA GPA policy. Currently, we have a 1.0, and I replied to the board that I would do some research and try to get some data together. I didn't do a whole lot of the work, but Mr. Rowan did. Mr. Rowan reached out to, I believe, 18 schools, heard back from 15. Comparatively, where are they with their GPA for eligibility for OHSA athletic eligibility? And then how many students, and I use the term exclude, how many students would we exclude if we had a higher GPA than a 1.0? So the data, and I'll have Mr. Rowan if he can jump in if he needs to here. The data that we have is we have 10 districts in the area. And when I'm saying area, we have Columbiana, Trumbull, and Mahoning County that have the same as us, 1.0. We have 5 districts, 2 with a 2.0, 1 with a 1.5, and 1 with a 1.75, and 1 with a 1.2. The one district that has the 2.0 checks their eligibility every 3 weeks to a month. We have a district that has a 1.0 the same as us. If they fall below that, the students go to a study table, or if they're close to it. Another district that has a 2.0, if they fall below, they attend a study table, but they have to be above a 1.0. And the other one, if they're at a 1.75, it's really the only one that said if they fall below the 1.75, they're conditional eligibility. If not, I'm assuming if they're below the 1.75,
That was from,
they can't.
yeah, from Salem. He didn't really explain to me what conditional eligibility meant, but I'm assuming it was similar to the other schools where the kids have to go to study table or have a certain study hall during the period, during the school day, where they're getting help or something like that, but he didn't really go into much detail.
3 districts, as I mentioned, did not reply to Mr. Rowan's request. What I got out of this is that 10 have the 1.0 and there's a few with the 2.0. So it is a little bit across the board in all 3 counties. There's some resources available for kids that fall below the 2.0 or the 1.5. In our district, and I have a list of all of our students and their GPAs. This is from the 4th 9 weeks. So I asked Mr. Rowan to go through and highlight students that are below a 2.0, We have 4 students below a 2.0, 1 with a 1.8, 1 with a 1.6, 1 with a 1.8, and 1 with a 1.0. That's always concerning, no matter what. 4 out of, I don't know how many we would say, but these are all student athletes?
That's every kid in our high school building. So that right there would be for fall athletes, basically.
That's what we would take for eligibility purposes.
For the next 9 weeks, yes.
So I'm not sure if it's problematic. I think what we talked about was, if nothing else, raising the bar. I guess my thought would be, I'm not opposed to whatever the board says, look, let's go to a 1.5, a 1.75, a 2 point. I don't know how necessary it is just based on the data that we have right now. When I talked to Mr. Rowan, he gave me this, I was surprised or not. It's not been a problem, but this verifies and at least it confirms that, yeah, if we have 4 kids, those are 4 kids we want to get to. I think I would prefer, at least recommend right off the bat, that we monitor it for 9 weeks or even a semester. If those numbers start to increase, then we say, maybe we do have an issue that we need to address and look at whether it's some intervention practices, some study table, but by and large, 3 kids with a 1.8, I think, or above, and 1 with the 1.0. And as Mr. Rowan mentioned, there's a story behind every one of those 4 kids that may make you realize why they have the grades that they have. So I'm open for discussion. I just wanted to give you the data that I have. Whatever you think.
I guess my thought would just be for future students raising the bar. I mean, I don't know, obviously it's not a problem now, but just in the future, it's a little bit easier now if we only have 3 students that may affect, where maybe down the line, maybe we have more, where if we implement it with them, maybe more students will be affected. That's just my thoughts on it.
I could add, two of the principals responded on the phone, and they at one time did have higher GPAs and felt like some of the kids that didn't meet that higher GPA One of the schools didn't change it. They just put in interventions to say, look, as long as they were above a 1.0 and they went to study table, we would say that they were eligible. Another school changed their GPA. It was a 1.5, they changed it back to a 1.0 and went OHSA because they felt like they were getting kids to come to school to be on the soccer team or to be whatever. That was their means of getting them to school. And when they hired it, they saw a decline. The one school did hold fast, but they just added the intervention, the study table. Hey, look, if you got a 1.2 and we're saying it's a 1.5, if you're above 1.0, we'll do study table with you either before school, after school, or like I said, an intervention period during the school day. If the kids attended that regularly, then they were like, they had basically conditional eligibility, is how he explained it. If they didn't attend, then they would become ineligible. And that was kind of a stipulation that they had. They basically ran it out of like, almost like an in-school suspension situation, where that kid had to go and sit with that teacher and get remediation in whatever classes they had to get remediation in, so.
One of the things that happens here, our coaches do a pretty good job of monitoring where our kids are. Obviously, that's important to our kids, it's important to our coaches. Many of our coaches, and this is old school and I love it, let me see a report card on report card day, bring it to practice. So our coaches are involved, our building principal, our counselors are involved, our whole staff is involved with it. So again, whether there's intervention services for students that are below whatever number that is, or if, say, look, let's let it ride for another 9 weeks or a semester, I'm open. But the data that I have it's not telling me that there's an issue, but to Mr. Yoakum's point, I'm willing to do whatever.
I do appreciate you giving the data, by the way.
One of the other things we do that's kind of unique here is we put some of our teachers into our lunch duty. So if I put Mr. Yeagley on as a lunch duty monitor, Mr. Yeagley could then go and look at every kid's report card. If you don't have, the way our system Dazzle is set up, if you don't have a student in class, you cannot view their report card. But if he has, every kid that's assigned lunch has, if I put 3 teachers on lunch duty, those 3 teachers can view every kid in our district's report card. So if our coaches want to look at a kid's report card, they're able to because we put them on, so they'll come to me and say, I want to see this person's, I want to see my kid's report cards. Well, the easiest thing for me to do is go to 6th period, go to lunch, and I add this teacher as a lunch duty monitor. Even though they're not doing that, that opens in Dazzle. They could then go on Dazzle where they do attendance every morning, pull any kid's report card, and they can see any kid's report card that they have in their program. Our coaches have utilized that in the past.
How do we enforce the 1.0?
The 1.0 is basically, Mrs. Berkey and I do the eligibility list at the end of every 9 weeks.
Okay.
We go through, OHSA says they gotta pass 5 classes, not counting phys ed.
Okay.
So we count 5 classes and make sure if they don't have, that they don't have any Fs in any of those classes. So a kid with the 1.0 through OHSA, they can get straight Ds and still be eligible through OHSA.
Okay, but
One of the schools that I contacted, they said, look, we just didn't want the kids to get straight Ds. They would have to take another class and just get a C in a class. It could be any elective. We just want them to get 4 Ds and a C or 5 Ds and a C
Right.
to get something higher than a 1.0. One of the schools is like a 1. I think it was a 1.2 was their GPA, which would equate to 3 Ds and a C.
Okay.
So we go through and do the eligibility every 9 weeks. OHSA's eligibility is 9 weeks. So the 4th 9 weeks affects the first 9 weeks of next year, the first 9 weeks, the second, the 3rd, the 4th.
And that's a little onerous. I mean, does that take, or does the system do a lot of the
We
work
can run,
for you?
we can run the report that'll flag those kids.
So we could potentially flag the ones between 1.0 and 2.0 and let the coaches know?
Generally, our
So
coaches
whatever we
know
want.
because of the grade book
Okay.
and the progress book.
I think the other thing that is the flip side, we recently had our spring sports awards program, and as in winter and in fall, one of the things that Mr. Farron and all of our ADs and building principals have done for a year would be the Scholar Athlete Award, and it's given out first before all the teams go to separate rooms for their awards. And unfortunately, fortunately, there's just a few kids that aren't walking up onto the stage to get that certificate. So that tells me, yeah, we've got a lot of kids, and usually in season, And that'd be another thing we could look at someday, to look at the data. In season, my gut is that the GPAs are higher. And I said that last month because our kids are, you're organized, there's that carrot in front of them to do well. So, I think this is good discussion. Again, I'm not sure, other than monitor it. Again, whatever you think.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing on the agenda, so it's just open discussion at this
Right,
point. So,
right. I'm happy to do that. I can, Mr. Rowan, we could do it in November after the first 9 weeks. We could do it in January after the semester if we felt the need. So, whatever direction you'd like to go.
Okay. All right. Next up on the agenda is non-agenda items, public participation. We didn't receive any requests for the month of June. So at this point in time, I'd like a motion so that we may move into executive session under Ohio Revised Code 121.22 for the purpose of confidential discussion of employment of a public employee or official and to discuss the compensation of an employee. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Amy moves. Do I have a second? Second. Dale seconds. Mr. Phillips?
John Coons,
Yes.
Dale Murray, Ralph Wentz,
Yes.
Amy White,
Yes.
Corey Yocum,
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Coons, if I may.
Oh, yes, go ahead, Mr. Dunham.
2 months ago, I mentioned we had a resignation with a longtime custodian. We have another this month that I'm recommending for you to accept. Recommending for you to accept, it's Mr. John Clark. Mr. Clark has been with us for 40 years as a custodian, obviously effective and dedicated. And if you knew John, he had a story that for everyone will be missed by his colleagues and by the entire South Range community. And we'd just like to wish him a happy and long and healthy retirement. Mr. John Clark, 40 years, retirement on September 1st of 17.
Great. Certainly our best wishes are with them. There's one other item that Mr. Murray caught in the special board meeting. The day of the week is actually Friday, not Tuesday. So if anybody's trying to add it to
Good
the
eyes,
calendar.
Mr. Murray. Good eyes.
And so at this point, it is 7:37 p.m. and the board will enter executive session. Anybody's welcome to stay until we